Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
It's great to be here.
We're all feeling it right now, right? Inflation and interest rates are all over the news.
Absolutely.
Feels like every time you go to the store, you need more and more money for less and less stuff.
Yeah. And I think most people kind of get what inflation is. Prices go up.
Yeah, you pay more for things.
Right. But what's really important to understand is the role that interest rates play in all of this.
Oh, okay, so we're talking about the interest rates that, like, the central banks and the Federal Reserve set, right?
Exactly. Those seemingly small changes, those interest rate changes, can have a huge impact
Huge impact on what, though?
on basically everything in our financial lives.
Really?
Think about it like loans, for example.
Okay, like a mortgage.
Right. Or a mortgage, credit cards, car loans, even savings.
Wait, savings too.
Yeah, even savings.
So it's not just about, like, the cost of milk at the grocery store going up.
No, it's not that simple.
It's like a domino effect.
It's connected.
Okay, so before we even talk about, like, strategies to deal with this, we need to understand
We have to understand.
this whole inflation and interest rate dance.
Yes, it is a bit of a dance.
So tell me more about that dance. How does it work?
Well, central banks, they use interest rates to kind of control the economy, right?
Yeah, like a lever.
Exactly like a lever. So when inflation's high, they increase interest rates to try to cool things down.
So it's like hitting the brakes on a speeding car.
That's a great analogy.
But I'm guessing it's not that simple, right?
No, not quite. It's more like hitting the brakes on a car where different parts of the car slow down at different speeds.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. So some parts of the economy are going to be hit harder by those interest rate increases than others.
Exactly. And that's why it's so crucial to understand this dance if we want to make smart choices with our money.
Okay, so we got to learn the steps so we don't get stepped on.
That's a good way to put it.
So let's talk about those steps then. Where do we even begin?
Well, the very first thing is you absolutely have to know where your money's going.
Oh, come on. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people really have no idea.
Really?
They just kind of have a vague idea of what they spend each month.
So you're saying we need to actually track our spending.
Track it.
Meticulous. And how do we do that? Like a little notebook and pen?
You could use a notebook, but honestly, these days, a budgeting app is so much easier.
Sure, like those apps that connect to your bank account.
Exactly, they categorize everything for you.
But it's not enough to just download the app, right? You actually have to use it.
You have to use it consistently, and I promise you, you might be shocked by what you discover.
Like that my daily latte is actually costing me like $500 a month.
It's possible, or maybe those online subscriptions you forgot you were even paying for.
Okay, so it's about awareness.
It's not about deprivation, it's about understanding where your money is actually going.
And once you know that, then you can make informed decisions.
Exactly.
Now,
Then you can decide where to trim without, sacrificing your enjoyment of life.
Okay, so we've got our financial GPS turned on. We're seeing the map of our spending. What's next?
The next step is to create a clear distinction in your mind between what's essential and what's not essential.
Needs versus wants, right?
Exactly. And I know it sounds simple, but trust me, the line can get blurry.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you have to ask yourself, what are those expenses that you absolutely cannot live without?
Like rent.
Rent, groceries, utilities, those are the non-negotiables.
Those are the must-haves.
But then there are the wants, those things that are nice to have but not essential.
Like those daily lattes we were talking about.
Maybe it's time to become a home barista a few times a week.
I actually have a pretty good espresso machine.
There you go.
I could probably save some money there.
And you'd still get to enjoy your coffee.
Okay, so we've sorted our needs from our wants. What's next in our inflation proofing plan?
We need to talk about the superhero of your financial toolkit,
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
the emergency fund.
Ah, yes, the emergency fund.
This is not just a rainy day fund. This is your financial shield against a storm,
So important.
especially when inflation is eating away at the value of your cash.
So stuffing cash under the mattress is not the answer.
Definitely not.
Wow.
You want your savings to work as hard as you do.
Okay, so where should we be putting that emergency fund money?
Look into high-yield savings accounts or even short-term treasury bills.
Okay, I've heard of those. They offer a better return than a regular savings account, right?
Exactly. They help you at least partially offset inflation.
So it's like our money is at least keeping pace with inflation.
That's the goal. And aim for 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved up.
3 to 6 months. Wow, that seems like a lot.
It might feel daunting, but even small, consistent deposits add up over time.
So we're talking about like setting up automatic transfers to our savings account.
Exactly. Make it automatic so you don't even have to think about it.
I love that. I love automating things.
It makes it so much easier.
Okay, so we're tracking our spending, we're trimming the fat, we're building our emergency fund. But let's face it, a lot of us are also dealing with debt.
That's a big one.
How do we tackle that beast, especially when rising interest rates are making it even scarier?
It's true, high interest debt, like credit card debt, becomes a much heavier burden when rates go up.
So what's the strategy here?
You have to prioritize paying down those high interest debts as quickly as possible.
So we're not just talking about making minimum payments anymore.
No minimum payments will just keep you in debt forever. You need a plan of attack.
A debt demolition plan.
Exactly. And consider exploring refinancing options as well.
Refinancing, so like getting a lower interest rate on our loans.
Exactly. Even a small decrease in your interest rate can save you a ton of money over time.
Okay, this is starting to feel empowering. We're taking control, we're tracking, spending, trimming the fat, building our emergency fund, tackling debt head on. But what about investing?
Investing is absolutely still on the table.
Even when things feel so uncertain.
Even then, but we need to be smart about it.
Okay, tell me more.
Some types of investments are actually inherently inflation resistant.
Oh, really?
Think commodities, real estate, and something called inflation-protected securities.
Inflation-protected securities, what are those?
They're special bonds issued by the government that are designed to protect investors from inflation.
So they're not like your grandma's savings bonds.
Not quite. Their principal value actually adjusts with inflation, so you don't lose purchasing power even when prices are rising.
Okay, that's interesting. It's like a secret weapon in our investment arsenal.
You could say that.
But I'm guessing this is where things get a little more complex, right?
Investing always carries some level of risk.
So we need to tread carefully.
Do your research, understand your own risk tolerance, and consider talking to a financial advisor.
A financial advisor can help us navigate this.
Exactly. They can help you build a portfolio that aligns with your goals.
So even in a crazy market, we can find opportunities to make our money work for us.
You absolutely can.
I'm feeling a newfound sense of hope here. This is great, but before we dive even deeper into the world of investing, let's take a quick break and come back refreshed and ready for more.
Sounds good.
All right, we are back and ready to keep fighting inflation.
Ready for round two.
So in part one, we talked about the big picture stuff.
Yeah.
Getting our finances in order.
The foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, foundation.
The foundation. But now I want to get into the nitty gritty, like those everyday expenses.
The things that can really sneak up on you.
Yeah, and drain your budget before you even realize it.
Especially when prices are going up everywhere you look.
It's true. It's like death by a thousand cuts.
That's a good way to put it. We tend to focus on the big things like our mortgage payments or car payments.
It's a big ticket item.
But it's often those small recurring expenses that make the biggest difference over time.
So we're talking about things like groceries and utilities.
Exactly. And transportation, those costs can really add up.
Yeah. Are you saying we need to become extreme couponers and live off the grid?
Not quite. It's all about being strategic and resourceful.
So like a game.
Yes, a game to outsmart inflation.
I like games.
Me too.
Okay, so let's start with groceries. That's a big one for most people.
Absolutely. And one of the best ways to save money on groceries is meal planning.
Oh, meal planning.
I know it sounds kind of boring,
Yeah, it does.
but trust me, it's a secret weapon for saving money.
Really?
Think about it. When you plan your meals for the week, you make a list and you stick to it.
So you're not wandering the aisles aimlessly.
Exactly. You're not tempted by impulse buys.
And you're less likely to waste food.
Which is another huge money saver.
So it's like having a roadmap for your meals.
I like that analogy.
Keep you on track.
Yeah, and prevents those expensive detours.
Okay, but what about those days when I'm just too tired to cook?
We all have those days.
Am I doomed to take out?
Not necessarily. Batch cooking can be your best friend.
Batch cooking, so like cooking a big pot of something on the weekend.
Exactly, and then you portion it out, you can freeze some of it.
So you have ready-to-go meals throughout the week.
It's like having your own personal meal delivery service, but without the crazy fees.
I like that. Okay, so we've tackled groceries. What about those utility bills?
Energy costs are definitely on the rise.
Every time I look at my bill, it seems like it's gone up.
But you actually have more control over those costs than you might think.
Really?
Simple things like turning off lights when you leave a room and plugging devices
That kind of stuff.
makes a big difference.
What about those phantom loads?
Ah, yes, the energy vampires.
Those devices that are always sucking power, even when they're off.
They are sneaky, those phantom loads.
So how do we fight them?
Power strips are your friend?
Oh yeah, to easily turn off multiple devices at once.
Exactly. Or you can invest in some smart plugs.
Oh, those are cool. You can control them with your phone.
It's like having an energy patrol on duty 24/7.
I love it. Okay, we're being energy efficient at home, but what about transportation?
especially with gas prices being so unpredictable.
Yeah, it's painful.
If it's possible for you, consider alternative modes of transportation.
So biking, walking, public transportation,
Carpooling, if that works for you.
not only good for the environment, but good for our wallets.
Exactly. And if you do have to drive, make sure your tires are properly inflated.
And avoid those aggressive driving habits.
Speeding and braking hard can really waste gas.
Okay, so we're making progress here. We're conquering groceries, utilities, transportation. But what about fun?
We can't forget about fun.
Do we have to become hermits to save money?
Absolutely not. It's all about finding creative ways to enjoy ourselves without breaking the bank.
Okay, give me those budget-friendly entertainment ideas.
Instead of expensive dinners, outhost potlucks or game nights at home with friends.
Love that.
Check out free or low-cost activities in your community.
Like what?
Local museums often have free admission days. There might be concerts or festivals in your area.
Oh, and picnics in the park?
Picnics are always a good idea.
Affordable and fun.
Exactly. And what about travel?
Ooh, travel. That could be a big expense.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be if you're flexible.
Flexible with our dates and destinations.
Exactly. And consider traveling during the off-season when prices are typically lower.
Good point.
And look into alternative accommodations like Airbnb or hostels.
They can be much cheaper than traditional hotels.
And sometimes they offer a more unique experience.
It's like getting a glimpse into the local culture.
Exactly. What about airfare? Any tips for finding deals?
Airfare is so expensive these days.
Use those travel search engines, set up price alerts so you know when fares drop.
Smart.
And consider flying into smaller regional airports. Sometimes they have better deals.
I wouldn't have thought of that. Okay, so we're finding ways to have fun to travel even on a budget, but what about those unexpected expenses?
The curveballs life throws at us.
Car repairs, medical bills.
That's where our emergency fund comes in, remember?
Right, our financial airbag.
Exactly. That cushion can help you absorb those unexpected costs without derailing your progress.
Okay, so we're covered there, but what about our long-term goals?
Things like buying a house retirement.
How do we stay focused on those when things feel so uncertain?
It's important to remember that financial goals are not set in stone.
They can change.
They should be flexible, adapt to your circumstances.
So if we're facing challenges, it's okay to adjust our timeline.
Absolutely. Or maybe explore alternative paths to reach those goals.
So we don't give up on the dream, we just tweak our approach.
Exactly. For example, if you're saving for a down payment on a house and those rising interest rates are making it tough,
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to save enough.
you might consider different types of housing options or maybe adjust your savings strategy
So maybe look into first-time homebuyer programs.
or explore areas with a lower cost of living.
I like that we have options.
You always have options. It's about being proactive.
I'm feeling more confident already just knowing that we have choices. But before we move on to part 3, any final words of wisdom?
Remember, your mindset is crucial.
Mindset.
Don't let fear or overwhelm paralyze. You stay informed, stay curious, and most importantly, stay empowered.
We've got the tools. We've got the knowledge.
Now go out there and use them.
And we are back for the final stretch of our deep dive into inflation-proofing our lives.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. We've covered a lot of ground, getting tactical with our budgets, finding ways to save money.
Practical strategies.
Exactly. But now I want to talk about something a little less tangible, but just as important.
Our mindset.
Yes, mindset. Because, let's be real, money can be an emotional roller coaster.
It absolutely can, especially when the economy feels shaky.
It's easy to get caught up in all the doom and gloom.
The fear, the anxiety, even shame.
Oh, yeah, the shame of those impulse purchases we all make.
We've all been there. But here's the thing. Those negative emotions can actually sabotage our efforts to get financially fit.
How so?
When we're stressed, we're more likely to make impulsive decisions.
Oh, yeah, stress spending is a real thing.
It is. Or we might avoid dealing with our finances altogether.
Yeah, like burying our head in the sand.
Exactly. Which just makes things worse in the long run.
So it's not just about knowing what to do with our money, but also how to think about it.
You gotta, mindset is everything.
Okay, so how do we cultivate a healthy money mindset?
The first step is awareness, just noticing those negative thoughts and feelings when they pop up.
So like catching ourselves in the act.
Exactly. And don't judge yourself, just observe those thoughts.
Okay, so it's like, hey, anxiety, I see you trying to make me stress eat that whole pint of ice cream.
Exactly. And once you've acknowledged those thoughts, you can start to challenge them.
Challenge them how?
Ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it based on facts or just my fears?
So we're talking about like A little bit of self-therapy
You could
here.
say that and remember all the strategies we've been talking about. You've got the tools to navigate this.
Knowledge is power.
Absolutely. And sometimes we need a little extra support.
Yeah, it's okay to ask for help, right?
Absolutely. Talk to trusted friends or family members about your financial concerns.
Sometimes just talking about it can make a big difference.
It can, and if you need more guidance, consider working with a financial advisor.
A professional.
Exactly. They can provide objective advice and help you create a plan.
It's like having a financial coach in your corner.
I like that analogy.
But what about all the noise out there? All the messages telling us to spend, spend, spend.
The consumerism.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's everywhere. How do we resist that pressure?
Be mindful of your media consumption, your social media habits,
So, like, limiting our exposure to those things.
especially if they trigger feelings of comparison or inadequacy.
It's like giving ourselves permission to unsubscribe from the Keeping Up with the Joneses reality show.
Exactly. You get to choose what you allow into your mental space.
So how do we shift our mindset from feeling deprived to feeling empowered?
Focus on gratitude.
Gratitude.
Take time to appreciate what you already have, even the small things.
So like counting our blessings.
It's a simple practice, but it can really shift your perspective.
From scarcity to abundance.
Exactly. And remember, financial well-being is not just about having a lot of money. It's about feeling secure and in control.
It's about having peace of mind.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, this has been an incredible conversation. I feel so much more equipped to handle whatever economic challenges come my way.
I'm glad to hear that.
And remember, listeners, you are not alone in this. We're all in this together. So let's support each other, share our knowledge, and keep learning and growing.
That's the key.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into inflation-proofing your life. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving for that financial freedom you deserve.